Let's see. All right. Announcements. It's election day. If you haven't voted, go vote. If you're registered, I guess. If you're not registered, then yeah, I don't know why. But anyway, do that. Um, I do have a basic door with a script on it. It opens the script with the basic animation. Um, it's a sliding door, kind of like a Star Trek or Star Wars door, right? If you want another type of, well, maybe I'll do a swinging door just to show you how I did it. And what else? I haven't worked on my Star Wars William-esque music yet. I've been slack. I'll try to get on that. Let's see. The assignments this week, the main goal is get a playable version of your level in the shared folder here. And I meant to put it, got to put a link there. 1 second. Okay. Paste. Apply. All right. So in our shared levels folder, I guess I'll share my screen now. All right, so share. So I think we saw Blaine's level last week, didn't we? If I'm not mistaken. Maybe we can see somebody else's this week. There we go. So this folder here is where you need to stick your package, right? My door script is in the prefabs folder here. Door prefabs basic. It's called basic because there's no key for it yet, right? So it doesn't work with a key. It just opens when you get close to it, and we'll see how that works in a second. I would try to get the key thing working. This, yes. Is it there now? Okay. It must have been lagging. What does my clock say? Top right. All right, so we're about a minute behind. Yep. Yay. All right, so yeah, we got a significant lag if it's about a minute behind. So that's what's going on. That's not good. Maybe that'll fix itself, or maybe not. Well, we'll do what we can. All right. Does everybody see it now? Yeah. All right. Just keep me apprised of how bad the lag gets. All right. Okay, so also there was an assignment to create a reward system in game, right? Although we'll discuss some of this chapter 7, but I'm not gonna finish it today because I'm not in the mood. So we're just gonna I'm gonna show you some particle systems. I think Brian said he's done some of those. Anybody else done any particle system work? You have, Charles? I guess I should know that you have, but trying to remember. I guess there was something major you did that I should remember, but I'm not recalling it right now. Okay. Okay. That's cool. What did you do, Charles? Because you say I have. LOL. Well, Emma, once you start playing with them, it kind of they're a lot of fun. But I use it on the Jake game and other clicking game. All right, cool. Well, we'll look at those briefly anyway, and just kind of give you the basics. All right, um, so for next time, if you haven't finished chapter 7 by now, just make sure you do that by next time, and we'll delve into that. It is an important chapter, but I don't feel like reading through a book right this second. All right, so let's look at what I did for the door, even though technically some of this isn't level design per se, right? Some of it's programming and just Unity stuff, right? But let's look at that anyway. So that is the door. So I'll show you that they actually do work. But, all right, so of course I don't know how bad the lag is right now. What is my holy crap, it's loud. Right. All right. I get you. All right. Well. All right. Well, I'll run through this and you'll see it late. Right. So right now I'm running up to a door, and you'll see it in a minute. But door opens. It's really not mind blowing, but it does work. Okay. This is gonna suck if you're a minute behind it all the time. All right, let me know when you see it. All right, so yeah, that's cool. Okay. I hate this. I hate living out here in the country. All right. Well, for the internet part, anyway. Really hard to do this with the severe lag like that. I can. I'll put the script I was using. In our scripts folder. I can do that, I guess. Oh, that's awesome. Yay! Yeah, I'm imagining that's what he meant by slowly, yes. Well, we'll see. Well, I'm recording it, so you'll be able to see it later, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to do, really. I mean, I can't speed up my internet, especially not while I'm on it, so. Oh, wow. So I'm going to put the trigger script in our folder, right? So if you want to look at that, that's in our project code folder. Well, it should be in a second. It is now. All right. All right. So. This sucks. I guess I'll try to create a new door, and it'll be on the recording, and I don't know what to do other than that. What does the clock say now? How bad are we? All right, he's at 12:48, which would be at almost 2 minutes probably. So yeah, it seems to be getting worse. I guess I'm just going to do this and record it, and I don't know, I have to deal with it, I guess. All right, so you'll hear me talking about things that you'll see maybe in a couple minutes. All right. All right, so as I was telling Brian, to make animations work so that you can use it as a prefab, you really have to have a parent object that isn't actually being animated, but to which the animations are actually attached, which is really easier to explain visually, which you'll see in a couple minutes, I guess, right? So I already have a door parent, so I'm going to call this door parent 2. So I'm going to create a empty object and call it door parent 2. All right, and then I'm going to create just a cube that's going to be my door. Somebody just join us. Cottrell. You know the class starts at 12:30, right? At the doctor's. All right. How are your assignments coming along? You catching up? Because I haven't checked. They're good. I'm catching up. All right. Well, haven't received any questions from your emails or anything, so I assume you're doing all right. All right. So, and for the record, there's a huge lag right now between what I'm talking about and what you're seeing. So I'm recording it all, so it'll be on the video once I upload it tomorrow at some point. It might be later tomorrow than normal on Wednesday because of the aforementioned election and the fact that I'm going to probably be up late tonight. All right. Anyway, I have this empty parent object called door parent 2. I'm going to create a cube and then resize it so it looks more like a door. I'll make this door swing, right? So this will be a swinging door as opposed to the sliding door that I just created. All right, so I'm going to create a game object, 3D object, cube. Right. I'll go ahead and make that a child of door parent 2. All right. Then I'm going to reset the. Why is it like that? Okay. I'll reset the position to make sure it's where it needs to be. Actually, door parent 2, I'm going to tag that. All right. Then I'll call the cube door 2 to differentiate it from the other one. Right. Then I will move the door parent more into location. Let's see. I'll resize the door. So X is 0.1 scale, and Y and Z are 3. Right? So it's a 3 by 3 square. Right? All right, and now I will. Maybe because it doesn't have. Oh yeah. Vertex snapping is your friend. If you don't know how to do it, learn, right? Everybody know how to do vertex snapping? If you don't learn anything from this class, you should know how to vertex snap, because that's a level design trick. And so you make sure to line up items very precisely, right? Okay, so I have my door parent. I need to reset position. Undo that. Reset position. It doesn't seem to want to let me do that. All right. I guess you can't vertex snap empty objects, because every time I press V on an empty object, it doesn't want to do that, which is not as helpful as I would like. Okay, so we have a door parent, and then we have a door, right? You'll note on my other door, I created a door trigger, which is in fact just another cube that I've turned off the mesh renderer on and turned the collider into a trigger zone, right? So I'm going to do basically the same thing here. The door parent 2 with the door. The easiest way to create this trigger zone is just to duplicate the door and then to scale it out a little bit so that it's larger, right? So I'm going to say duplicate, right? Then let's call it door trigger, right? And then I'm going to pull it. Let's focus on it a little bit so you can see it. All right, and then I'll pull it out a little bit, right, like that. Then I'm going to scale it this direction. Move it out a little more. All right, so that's like when we had a trigger zone, right? Then we come over here into the inspector and we turn off the mesh render because we don't need to see the trigger zone. And on the collider, we want to click on is trigger, right? Good job. And the first thing I like to do is to make sure that the trigger zone, in fact, works, so that when the player walks into the trigger zone, we can put a debug log out saying, hey, you walked into the trigger zone. I do that before I even create the animation, just to know that the trigger is working correctly. All right. So that. And the door trigger script is in fact on the trigger itself. All right. So I'm going to create, I'll call this door trigger 2 so as to keep them separated. Right? And I'm going to scripts, and I'm going to create another door trigger script. So this is just to illustrate how this works. Right? So create C# script s_door trigger. Up. That's probably going to cause problems because I named it the exact same thing and then added a 1. So let's see if it adds the 1 in the. It did there. Yes. It's called door trigger 1. That'll be fine, right? All right. So we're in this script and we need a function that's called when the player walks into the trigger, right? So when we walk into the trigger, we can call that animation that we were talking about. All right, so I'm going to say public void on trigger, and you'll see that these functions are built into Unity, right? So they'll as soon as you start typing them, they do pop up, and you just hit enter, right? And you'll see it gives you Collider Other for free, right? It's good to see if it collides with anything, right? It's good to have that knowledge, right? So let's say debug log, right? Trigger collided with, right? And then plus other dot tag. All right. So we'll save that, switch back to Unity. How bad is the lag now? What's my clock? Oh wow, it's getting worse. All right, fun. Well, like I said, it's recording. I nothing I can do to speed it up, so we're just gonna soldier ahead, I suppose. So I'm gonna put that trigger script on the trigger object. Let's see, and then I'm going to open my console to make sure that that I can see it when it runs into it, right? Oh, I need to do that, right? So, all right, trigger collided with player. That's good. All right, so the trigger did get fired, as we say, when the player ran into it. All right, so man, I wish you could see this in real time, but this is not. This is less than awesome, right? So, let's see. So what we have to do is now we're going to create the animation itself, right? And this is really going to stink that you can't see me doing this in real time, but I don't know what to do. All right, so this is the thing I want to animate. But as Brian was talking about earlier, if you put an animation directly on an object and then you like create a prefab, or if you move it somewhere else, when you play that animation during the game, it pops back to the location from which you created the object in the first place. Right? Because when you create the animation, it records those coordinates as literals, right? But if you put the animation on an empty object, like the door parent 2 that I created, then it treats those coordinates as relative to the parent, and that's what you want, right? That's why I created the door parent here. So I'm going to click on the door parent, and this you can't see right now, which stinks, right? And I have notifications on, which I usually turn them off. My mother-in-law lost her cat, and he's back. So in case you'll see that in a few minutes. My wife just sent me a text. So usually I have those turned off so you don't see my personal text like that. But Cody's back. Yay. All right. What was I saying? All right. So we're going to now, I select the parent, right? And I'm going to go to the animation panel. If you don't have this open already, go to Window and Animation and the Animation panel. You see this hotkey Command 6, right? And I always dock it down here with my project. All right. All right, so with door parent 2 selected, right? I'm going to come into the animation panel and say create, right? And it opens up this new animation dialog box, right? Because you have to name it as soon as you create it. You'll find the best thing to do when you animate in this. Mr. Murray may say something different, right? But in my experience, limited experience with animating in Unity, you want to create the default animation first because that's the way Animator is going to start, right? So whatever animation state you want it to be in when you start, you create first, right? And typically, the default state for any animated thing is the idle state, right? Where it's not doing anything. And a door, unless you're opening it, should be just sitting there, right? So I always create the idle state first because you don't have to do anything. It's just the animation panel is just blank because it's not really doing anything. Of course, some idle animations actually do things. Like if you have a character, sometimes they breathe and move just a little bit or something. But even then, the idle state is going to be the default. So you want to start with that. All right. So that was a long-winded way of saying always create the idle animation first, right? So I'm going to say door idle, right? And I'm going to put it in the animation. I'm going to call it door 2 idle since I already have a door idle, right? So remind me to make everything door 2, right? So save that. All right, and you'll see, or you will see in about 10 minutes when it catches up, that there's nothing in this animation state, right? And you can see this state you're in over here on the side, right? It says door 2 idle, right? Now we want to create an actual opening animation, right? So we're going to come up here where it says door 2 idle and say create new clip, and we'll say door 2 open. And we'll say all right. And I may well screw something up while doing this. Like I said, it took me a couple tries earlier because I have to relearn this stuff every time I do it because I don't do it enough. All right, so we're going to go over, as I said, we place the animation clip on the parent, right? It may be catching up. The time was the same for a good 20 seconds. Hey, nice. So we place the actual animation clip on the parent, but we do the animating on the child. And that's the weirdness that you just got to get used to, right? So with the door parent 2 selected, we're down here, right? We're going to say add property, right? Add property means, because you can animate any number of things. You can animate the color, the transparency, the scale, right? So you have to tell it what you're going to animate. And so we're going to say add property. And note here, right, you can animate the transform of the parent, but we don't want to do that. We want to animate the door 2, right? So you click on door 2, and this is the whole key of getting the placement right. And door 2 open, the transform is what we want to do, right? So we're going to say click on transform, and we're actually going to, for this one, we're going to rotate it, right? So we're going to change the rotation, right? And we might actually want the position too, because we're rotating it, unless I can change the pivot point. All right, so we're going to do both, right? And position. All right. All right, and if you've done any animation at all, you're familiar with keyframes, right? And so you have this animation panel here, and you'll see these keyframes, right? This is 1 second, right? And these are called clicks. And at 1 second is how long. 1 second is a good, just a basic thing to start your animations at, because it's you know, it's an even number, right? Well, technically it's not an even number, but it's not it's a whole number. It's an integer. So you select these keyframes like that, and then we'll put our actual playhead there too. I don't know if that's necessary, but it always makes sense to me. All right, and now we're going to click on this little record button, and that'll record how you move this item and put those values into the properties that you said that you wanted to change or animate, right? So I'm going to rotate it. Let's see, I'll see this on Y. I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees like that, and then I'm going to move it. And I don't know if it's still recording or not. So we'll see. Like I said, I am not a master of animation by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I think that because these numbers up here are red, I think it did in fact record that, right? So I'm gonna cross my fingers. But to test it out, right, you come down here to the play and within your animation panel, and no, see, it did not do it at all, which is awesome. Not at all awesome. All right. So I'm going to stop that. Why didn't that work? So let's move that back, I guess. All right. So what? Oh my God. All right. Well, maybe it's already turned 90 degrees. That's weird. I didn't think I did that before. All right. Let's test that out. Nope. All right. Making it slide was easier than rotating it around a different pivot. All right, so let's just do that. So yeah, let's at least start where it's supposed to. All right. Okay. Interesting. All right, so it is rotating. There's got to be a way of doing that. This is why I suck at animation. Let's see. I need to change the pivot point actually. Oh God. That sucks. All right. That's really dumb, man. All right, that makes things difficult. Then I'm not going to do that right now because that's beyond what I want to try to figure out and do. So we're going to have the other one slides to the left. This is just a slide to the top, right? So we're going to go back, and we're not going to. I'm just going to remove that property altogether. I'm going to do that. So we're going to have a door that raises, right? So that'll work because that's pretty easy to do. And let's see, if one of you wants to work out the pivoting thing, that would be cool. I'm going to show you how to call the animation. I know how to do that. If you want to make some fancy animation, that's up to you. All right. So we have a door. We are going to, let's see. There, that's fine. Put it there, and we're going to record, and we're going to move it up. All right. We'll play that. See, they know how to do that. All right. Amazing. I guess that's high enough. Let's see. Make sure I'll call the character. We'll just make sure it's really. All right. So now we have an animation, right? And it's called door to open, right? Awesome. Now we need, let's see. Now we get to the animator, right? So we have an animation panel. There's also an animator panel, right? Which controls transitions between your different animation states, right? So if you I already have mine open, if you don't, go to Window, Animation, Animator, right? And mine is right here. They always start at the entry, right? And note that, well, this is, I'm on the wrong thing, right? See, that was where I was. That was the door parent. You see, that's already set up. Okay. Door 2 is not set up, so we're going to look at that. Note that the entry goes directly to door 2 idle because I said the default, that's why we created the idle first, because it defaults to that, right? In fact, if you press play now, you can watch that the door 2 idle just keeps looping, right? Which is fine because it's not doing anything. We will see that we want to turn off looping in our animation in a second because, well, sometimes you do want things to loop, especially if it's like if there's a platform that goes up and down. You want to create it so that it goes all the way up and then down and loops, right? So sometimes you do want it looping. You just need to be aware that that is a thing, right? I use most of mine I've turned off in the past, but anyway. So, but right now you see we can't get the door to open, right? So we have to create a condition under which it gets to door 2 open, right? So we have to have a parameter, right? You see a parameter that we set to true so that the door will open. So we change states, right? So we click on this plus so we can add, and because it's a true or false thing, it's a bool, right? So we say bool, and we're going to say door open, right? All right. If you want to, you can actually turn it to true automatically. Well, we don't have we haven't set up. Now that we have a parameter, now we have to create a transition between the idle state and the open state, which is here, right? So we right click on door to idle, make transition, and then we click down here. Now we have a transition, right? And we can click on that transition and look over here in the inspector, right? And there are all these things that there are ways of making them kind of meld between each other, and this is more important with kind of like models and stuff. I don't know how this would. I haven't used this at all. I'll be honest with you. I haven't used this at all. And if you become an animator, you will use this more than I have ever done so or care to. So that's not what I'm concerned with right now. But this conditions under here, this is the conditions under which this transition fires, right? So we're going to click on that, and we're going to say plus, right? And door open is the only parameter we have listed, so it's the only one that sits there, and it's already set to true, which is what we want, right? So what this means, if in code we change the animator parameter to door open, this turns to true, and their animation state will change. Does that make sense? How's the lag now? All right, cool. All right, that's it. So we're about to write the script that actually changes these states, so that's cool. And this is all very good review for me, so this will be the third time I've tried to do this today, so that's good. All right, so let's go to our script right here. All right, so the first thing we want to do is only call our animation when the player collides with this trigger, right? Because there could be other things in the game that can collide with this trigger that you may not want them to open the door, right? If you have a bullet or a projectile that's flying around, you don't want the door to open just because a projectile flies near it, right? So we're going to say if, right? And note we have the collider other. The other is the thing that's colliding with this trigger. In this case, we want to look for the player, so we say other game object tag, right? And the tags are those things you can tag anything in the game with, and they're very useful, right? So we're going to say player, right? Like that. And I'll just put, we're going to, fire animation, right? So that's just a comment. To actually control the animation, though, we have to have a reference to the animator, right? And we don't have that yet. So we need to come in our class here, right, and say, we're going to say, what is it? Public. We need a reference to the door itself, right? It's public game object, my door, right? And we'll say public animator, my door animator. All right. This allows us to call the animator and the functions that are in the animation class, right? The animator class. All right. So let's see. The game object we will set in the inspector. The animator will get as a component of the door, right? So if we look at Unity here, right, we have the door. Right? Actually, it's going to be a component of the door parent, right? That's what we have the animations on, right? So we're going to say here, we're going to say, sorry, we got to set this up. Say my door animator, right, equals my door get component animator, right? So that sets that up at the start, all right? With that set up, now we can say my door animator set trigger, right? And the trigger we want to set is note that there's an int ID, so you can number them, right? Or you can use the name, right? And this is the parameter name. It says right, the name is the parameter name. So we're going to say door open. All right. So what that does is in this animator, it changes that to true like that. In fact, you'll see that happen. If you leave the animator open, you'll see it happen as we play the game, which is kind of cool. All right. So let me make sure it's saved, right? And let's do this. Cross my fingers that everything's set up. Oh, it's not. So I can cross them all I want to, but things aren't set up right. All right. So let's see, get that out of the way. So in door 2, right, or yes, the door trigger, right, here we go. My door is the thing we want to set, right? So that is the door parent, in fact. So scene, door parent 2, all right? And we don't need to set it. In fact, I could probably make this private so it doesn't show up. Maybe I'll do that because it's looking kind of ugly, right? Because you don't want to set that if you're doing it in code, because then you get these conflicts that are kind of screwed up. All right, so that should go away now, actually. Yes. All right. All right, now I can cross my fingers and hope it works. So let's do it. So there's a door. You see a door 2 idle over there. You can see in your animator. And I'm going to pray. Hey, it worked. See, in door 2 open. See, now you see the issue. This is why you turn off looping, right? So, but that's why you turn the looping off. But so let me do that. Once you've made that mistake, right? Because you will do it, right? Because I do it all the time myself. I forget to turn it off. Go into your animation, right? And you'll see door 2 open, right? And you'll just see loop time, right? Because you can set the time of the loop, but we don't want loop time at all. Turn that off and you're good to go. Right, so try it again. Start. All right, so now one up there. All right, and this should open too. So now I just have to put in the key functionality, which is actually more complex than what we're doing right here. All right, so but do that, and we'll have some workable doors. All right. All right, so that's the doors. I guess I should show you some particle effects now too. I'm going to do it really short because we've already spent an hour doing the doors. But so let's do, and I don't. Let's see. They're going to be really basic because I don't feel like importing anything fancy, right? So let's go to our scene here. The lag, are we back to no lag or lagging or what? What's going on? Okay. All right. So we're just going to this door panel 2. At this point, I would create a prefab of it, so I'll just do that real quick. Prefab and drag door parent 2 in there. And now I should be able to drag that anywhere. I'll just test that, make sure. You want to make sure that your door works wherever, right? So I'm just going to throw one more of those in there, right? So put it here, just halfway up the ramp. Move it up a little bit. Let's just make sure that one works as well, all right? So it should work right out of the box. If not, I'm going to kill somebody. All right. Not all the way down to that, but it does, so that's good. All right. And you see it does actually animate in the correct position, which is the thing that we were concerned about. All right, so I was successful at something. All right, that's something to say. My mom would be proud. All right, so let's do this. Game object, effects, particle system, force field. Hey, there's new stuff, right? So I've never created a line. Actually, I have, but they moved that. Right, so it used to be a line renderer, right? We're not going to worry about those right now, but if you want to play around with them, by all means, do so, right? So I'm going to create a particle system, and it automatically starts rendering little particles, right? And it gives you a little particle effect box here, right? You can pause it, you stop it, restart it, right? So this is a super complex tool that I have not even scratched the surface of, right? So what I'm showing you here is just the bare bones stuff that what I've played around with. You can chain these things together, make one thing happen, and then you had so an explosion sometimes. If you download the standard assets, there's a bunch of particle effects that they give you for free, and you should check them out. Just if nothing more than to see how they do the things, right? But it's very, very interesting stuff, right? First thing you should know is you can change what these particles look like, the color, and all that sort of thing, right? So let's go in here and start color, right? You can change it to the yellow, right? You can, let's see, the duration is very important, right? That is how long, let me see, if you stop looping, the duration is how many seconds the whole thing lasts, right? So right now it appears to be infinite because it loops, right? So if you turn looping off, you'll note that you can stop it and just restart it, and it'll last for 5 seconds. All right, so that's important to know. There's a start delay, like if it's something that you wanted a trigger happens, but you want the delay of the thing to happen, some kind of later than when the actual trigger hits it. You could say 1 second later, right? So I'm gonna stop it, restart, and so it's a whole full second before it starts, right? Stop. All right. Let's see. Start lifetime. I believe that's how long these particles last, right? So let me see. So we'll make it 1 second. I'm going to take the delay off again, right? So, yep. See, they only last for a second. And you can turn that to 5 seconds. Play. 3, 4, 5. I think that's about 5 seconds. Yep. All right. So the start lifetime is how long the particles last in the world, right? The speed is obvious, right? So um, that's how fast they move in the world, right? Um, 3D start size. That's new. I'm not familiar with that. Oh, you can change. I see. There's a start size, which means there's you define one dimension. It's the same size in all dimensions, right? So if I do this, right, it's going to be 3 times what I just saw, right? All right. Like I said, you can play with this stuff for hours, and there's so much you can do with it. It's kind of crazy, right? So 3D start size means you can define different dimensions, right? So they're oblong now, right? So all right. Um, Flip rotation, start rotation. Not even mess with that right now. Gravity modifier. This means they can get pulled down to the ground, right? As they, right? So they. This is like if you wanted to create a fountain, right? You'd certainly do that, right? All right. I'm gonna loop it just for the heck of it. All right. So. All right. Let's see. So this is gonna be, you know, changed here. Delta time. Not even sure what that is. All right. There's a lot of stuff here I've never used. Um, Velocity, max particles. This is definitely something like if you want a lot of particles, let's bump this up a lot, right? So let's see. Emission is huge, right? That's how many particles come out at a time. So let's pump that. Say right, and you can just get crazy with it, right? And it gets really wild if you start doing that. Yeah, it's kind of freaky, dude. Right. So realize if you click off the particle system, it stops working for the time being. Right. Later on, realize that in code, if you want this to trigger on, you enable it or disable it, much like you would any other object. Right. So if it's not something that's always present in the game, you have to enable it and disable it in code. Right. Let's see. Stop action culling mode, ring, but I don't know what those are. I mean, if anybody delves into this and wants to learns more about this than I know, then by all means, reference back and let me know what you've learned, right? All right, so emission rate over distance, right? So the shape is very important, right? So right now we have a cone, right? I'm going to go back here and take the gravity off again. It says 0. Okay. We're back to a cone, which looks pretty wild. Shape, cone, hemisphere, right? It's the Death Star blowing up. Sphere. You can see it in world. Note that each particle over here has an outline to it, whereas over in the world it does not, right? So the radius, you can change how big the sphere is that's emitting these things, right? Let's see, donut. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. Circle. Oh, there we go. That's pretty cool. anyway, the point is there's all these things that you can play with, and I suggest you do so, right? Especially if you're an artist, learning how to use this. I mean, there are companies that, I mean, the special effects is that's a whole job, right? So if they're into this is something that you could make a lifetime of doing at some companies, right? Because it's a huge thing, right? All right, so I like color over lifetime is really cool. Any of these you can turn on like that, and then you click here, right? And it's a gradient, right? So um, all right, so it starts at red, right? And then it goes to green, let's say. So it's kind of crazy how much control you have over this. But the particles themselves, you can import. As long as they're grayscale, you're pretty good. But you can any kind of shape particle you want to put in there, you can. Where is that? Let's see. That default particle system. That's the shader. Where is it? Well, y'all can find it. I can't find the actual texture it's using. It's in here somewhere. Where is it? Maybe it's in there. Yeah, I think. Yep, here it is. It's under renderer, right? So if you wanted to find something else, another so let's see. I'm pretty sure these look pretty weird if you change them. That's fine. Default. Let's do that. See, I mean, it's you have to make these specifically for the system, or else they look really weird. Right? So, but you can make other other textures that can be used in the system, and they work. All right. So, anyway, I encourage you to play with those. Let's see what it looks like in game if we just let that run. That's pretty wild. So they can be a lot of fun, and I've had students that just went kind of nuts with them and just loved working with them. But I like to see how creative my students can get with them. Um, so by next week, just play with the particle system and see what you can come up with, and we'll check in and see what you've done by then. All right. All right. Well, that's all I really wanted to do. Has anybody done anything with their levels that they would like to show off? That's really interesting, because that's all I have for today, really. In fact, it was a little more than I was planning on, but because we saw Blaine's last week. Did we see anybody else's last week? Oh, that's right. You want to show it off? Let's check it out. Okay. All right. In the future, if you would all like just load up your projects before we start, that would be cool. But that way, oh, I got you. I got you. You were in the back doing something else. Yeah, it's all right. At least you're doing something. So, Cottrell, have you started working on your level? What's your theme for yours? Did you where's yours fitting in with everybody else's? Are you typing? I'm thinking about doing something simple. Okay. Does it have a theme? Where does it fit in with the other people's? With your classmates, because it's supposed to, there's supposed to be a progression. A fantasy theme. It could be fantasy as long. I mean, you understand that we've already came up with an overall theme is kind of like a uh, science fiction, right? Where these timed runs are happening on different planets in a galaxy, right? So, but the different planets can have different kind of themes, but overall, it's kind of a science fiction thing, right? While maybe the planet you're on, his planet could be just really behind. Yeah, I mean, I get that, right? I mean, certainly in Star Wars, there's like Naboo seemed more medieval than other planets, right? But they still had spaceships landing on it, right? So it can seem kind of fantasy-ish, but in the context of them realizing that there's other worlds out there, right? That makes sense. Because certainly all the worlds in Star Wars all have a different kind of thing going on, right? But they're all aware that they're part of a galaxy with all these other planets, right? So that's the difference. All right. Yeah, because we just don't, you just don't want your level to stick out as like, hey, this doesn't fit, right? Because it's all got to gel, or we're going to try to make it gel, right? If it comes together at all, I'll be proud. So we want to see. But this week, just realize that this week I want you to upload something to the level shared folder, right? So that we can start trying to see if we can easily pull these things together, right? So if there's any questions about that, let me know. All right. Brian, how we doing? Because we're almost out of time. All right, cool. Let's do it. Cool. I can. All right. Okay. Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's cool. Is that a bulldog on there? Oh yeah, that's cool. 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 Yeah, that makes sense. I've been a bulldog in many different respects. When I lived in Burlington, the high school there, they were the Bulldogs, and then when I worked at Griffin School, they were Bulldogs, and now I'm at Pitt, and they're the Bulldogs. It's like, there's two different middle schools in Pitt County that are Bulldogs. It seems kind of crazy. Bulldogs are like the standard thing or something. I don't know, but I don't know how they would let them do that. It seems like there would be some oversight. It's like, well, you can't have two bulldogs in one county, but alas, there is. That's apropos to nothing. But anyway, cool, man. That's really cool. So, you got your the door opening. That. Oh, okay. That's cool. Um, but you don't have keys working yet, I assume. All right. So that's what I want to. That's my project for next week, as well as writing the awesome soundtrack for the game as well. Anybody else have anything you want to show? Oh, your traps? No, I haven't. I saw them. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's cool. That's cool. Cool. Anything else? Okay. Huh. Uh, Discord. Yep. Um. What do y'all think? Y'all want to discuss that on your own time, or we got. Well, technically we're finished, but we got 5 minutes or so anyway. So if you want to discuss it now, you got a few minutes. I mean, if if you collect, obviously, if you collect half of the coins, say, and you die, um, if you keep them, obviously the coins can't repopulate, or else you could get more coins than were in the level. You know what I mean? So, um, I mean, um, yeah, I mean, I think it could warrant a separate game state. Um, sure, I think so. I mean, once the level starts over again, you're back to playing or whatever. But yeah, the screen before you restart would be definitely potentially different, I think. So I think that's a valid um, something valid to add, a valid addition. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you want me to add that, or you want to add that? All right. Okay. Yeah. Um, it just needs to be playable, right? Um, so it's something. Oh, I understand. And as I've said, I mean the goal is learning. It's not necessarily the finished product because we're not actually a production team, and there's nobody paying us to have it done on time. So, but I mean, having something playable that looks pretty cool would be awesome, right? So, I'm all for pushing to get it done. And your question is valid, and um, maybe over the next week, see if y'all can hammer out how y'all want to do that, and then we'll move forward from there. That cool? Cool. Um, cool guys. I'm looking forward to seeing the levels next week, and we'll take a look at all of them. Try to get them try to get them up definitely before class so that I can download them and we can and I can actually see if I can get them all to work in one game, right? So that would be cool. But other than that, any other questions? All right. If there are no more questions, then you are free to go, and I will be signing out shortly. If you haven't voted, go vote, and I will. Well, if somebody needs to see me tomorrow, then let me know. But otherwise, it'll probably be Monday, right? Or any time that we can work something out. But 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm probably not going to be there. All right.